Let's begin very simply by taking a look at how we can start to move the elements of our interface around so that we can access them more quickly. So part of working more quickly here in ZBrush is going to just be being able to access the tools that we need as quick as possible. And in some cases, we may not want to have tools in the certain default positions that ZBrush places them in. We might want to have them in different positions so that we can access them more quickly. Now there's a way to actually move these elements all around to different parts of our interface. So what we're going to look at now is the shelf, and that's basically the area right around our canvas, top, bottom, and then both sides. And you can see that we have, in the default layout, we have the brush and stroke and alpha and all that stuff on the left-hand side, and then we have all of these different options over here on the right-hand side. Well, let's say we want to move these around because as we're sculpting, we find that it's much easier if I had some of these down on the bottom to be able to access rather than having to go back and forth to both sides to be able to access these things. It might be a little bit easier to move those around. So what we can do is customize our interface and just move some of these items around. In order to do that, we need to go to Preferences, and you'll see under the Config subpalette here that we have some buttons here. So we have Restore Custom UI, Restore Standard UI, Store Config, and then Load and Save UI. So this will enable us to create our own custom UI and then save it out to be able to load it in later, or to actually store it as the default UI so that whenever we open up ZBrush, it'll come in as we want. So before we actually start to customize, we need to actually enable customize. So let's go ahead and turn that on. You can see here that we get a little bit more room around. You can see that we see the shelf down at the bottom here. We have the custom menu bar up here. And so once this is activated, we can now start to move these items around. So let's say that I want to move some of these tools, some of these icons over here down to the bottom. So all I have to do is hit Control and Alt, and then I can go ahead and drag this down. So I'll go ahead and drag the brush down, and then let's go ahead and drag these down as well. So I'm going to move all these down to the bottom, and let's go ahead and grab our colors. Now all of these are separate, so you can see I can grab each swatch separately, and so if you want to rearrange those at this point, you can do that too. Okay, so you can see we didn't have quite enough room there. We can also start to grab stuff from other areas. So maybe we want to have the intensity sliders down here as well. So we can start to grab the slider, bring our slider down, and let's put Z add and Z sub right on top of that. Let's go ahead and grab our draw size and bring it down here, and our focal shift. Okay, maybe we also want to have the ability to turn on our polyframe. Okay, and we'll kind of drop it in here. And maybe we want to be able to frame things, okay? And if you don't like where it is, you can go ahead and, again, just holding down Control and Shift, I'm able to move that around, okay? If you want to put it back where it goes, you can go ahead and just drop it back in here. Or, again, we can move it down to the bottom. We can come up here, let's say on this quick sketch, go ahead and drag it off, and you can see I've dragged it into an area that isn't able to add it to, and so it's actually deleted that. And then if we wanted to kind of move this stuff over, we could do that. We can really create our own custom layout here. If you wanted to put something in between, we can go ahead and bring this over a little bit. If you wanted to put something between here, you could. And you still have your trays that you're able to add different palettes to. But our shelf, you can see, is much different. So let's go ahead and turn off, once we're done, enable customize. And now we have all of our brushes down here that we can access, and we can go ahead and add our stroke. And if that's something that's easier for you to do, then that's great. Maybe it's easier for you to add to access tools from the top. Okay, it all depends on your specific workflow, and we can't cover all of those, but I can show you how to sort of customize the interface to fit your own needs. Okay, and so that's just hitting Preferences, Enable Customize, and then Control Alt to move those around. So let's say you're happy with that. You want to go ahead and save it out. So we can go ahead and save UI. And this will be saved out probably with your project files, but you want to save this if you want it to be able to load up at startup and have it in your folder here. You can save it in the user interface layouts, and we could just call this something like DT test or something like that, and go ahead and save it out. Okay, now if you want to at any time go back We can go ahead and restore our standard UI. You can see here. And then we can also come in and actually let's load up, there we go, load up our UI, load up the ET, and there you have your custom layout that you created. Okay, so that's one way, just moving existing elements of the interface around into different locations. And again, that's config, enable customize, and then you can come in and Control Alt, move those around. Okay, so beyond just moving things around, we can also sort of modify how the interface behaves so that it works a little bit more quickly as we're trying to access our different tools and go through our workflow. And so let's take a look at some of the options that we can modify within our user interface to modify its actual behavior. So we'll go ahead and take a look at that next.